All right. It's been quite a while. I haven't made a video for YouTube. I don't know if I'll do any of those tutorials. I might get back to doing some of those. But this video is more to do with the current state of things with employment, work, and AI. Since I last posted anything on here, AI has come a very long way. I know the most that AI could do is probably be integral or integrated to some kind of linear automation. And back in the day, that's more or less what we used to do, right? We'd make automation and have AI in there taking certain data sets, certain pieces of information, and you give it a prompt, and then it chucks out some kind of information, and ideally in some kind of structured format, and then you can use that to go do something else. And you connect applications to one another in simple times, right? Well, back in the day, I'm talking like as if I'm some old dude. But this was literally just 2 years ago. Maybe even not even 2 years. It was like 1.5 years ago. Heck, I'd say even a year ago, I was using Make up to a point. And then just this last year, everything changed. I'm saying the AI space started using N8N. Then recently, everyone started moving into the CLI with Claude Code, Gemini CLI, and everything else. And right now, AI, at least with not even with just respect to coding, like right now, you can do so much with AI. Look at Anthropic's Claude. They have their co-work system. You can set it up on your computer. You have the option. You can either have all forms of configurability in the CLI, connect all kinds of tools, MCPs, and everything else to it, and have it do whatever you want. I was surprised. Just the other day, I was setting up a workflow, an outreach automation for LinkedIn, and I know I made videos on Make where we set up prompts, we set up sequences from getting information. Once you get your list of leads, you need to enrich them. You need to give introductory messages. You want to personalize everything a bit. You'd make a workflow for that and have it run every single line. But of course, it was really fast because you still have AI integrated into that workflow. So it would give you the prompts, it would give you everything you need. But how far we've come in a year is back then, you'd have to do the enrichment. Then you'd have to run some workflow automations to find information about their websites. So you'd have to structure that out, connect like a SERP, CRP node or an HTTP request of any kind to maybe check their websites and do all that kind of stuff. You have to set all of that up. Later on, you could just go maybe one at a time or two at a time. You could send it into Gemini or something, and then they'll do the search for you for each company. But just this other day, when I did this automation, I got my list, I extracted it, and I have a list. I then arranged it to see which ones I could get contact information from that I could actually reach out to. So that's basic. There's no workflow, there's no Make or N8N automation going into any of that, right? So that's basic. That's you get the list, you get your links for every person you want to reach out to. And instead of trying to spend credits on APIs through a workflow automation, all I did was I have it as a CSV file. Let me try asking Claude Code. I'm like, hey, got a CSV file over here. You have access to this directory. Can you find more information about their company? And give me a summary in every line. Not only did it do that sequentially for every single line for this 200 odd list, 200 odd leads worth of people, it did it in like 10 seconds. Or maybe not 10 seconds, maybe like 20 or 30 seconds. But it explained what it did. It literally told me doing this would take a very long time. So I created parallel instances and ran them for you. And it went ahead and searched for every one of them. This is going to take some time. Let me go, use the bathroom, get something to drink. It's like it was already done. It was like I came back, but it looked like it was done for a long time. Damn, I didn't need to leave. And then after it did that, it was like, now I already have a prompt for sending stuff out to people in terms of not exactly a template, but a structure for how I want an agent to write out the first liner to send to people. I gave that. I was like, not even this one, literally less than 10 seconds. It ran the tasks in parallel and got it done for every single line in less than 10 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. And I'm using the Claude subscription. I didn't need to connect this to any APIs, any SERP requests, any node that would otherwise be used to do these searches and enrich them with information and write these prompts. That workflow, although once you set up a workflow, you can reuse the same workflow again and again, but you're still using CSV files. You need to upload it somewhere, connect that, make sure everything's in the right place. You don't need to do that with this. Whatever the hell format of CSV that you have, as long as it's understandable to a person, you just ask Claude to be like, hey, or it doesn't have to be Claude. That's the crazy thing, right? It's on CLI, it could be Gemini CLI, it could be anything that could run through a CLI. Just take a look at this file. I need something done to this. It does it. I don't know why I'm so surprised. It might be because I've created those workflows before. I took those videos down from my homepage because it's all irrelevant now. It's all absolutely irrelevant. The way we work with AI now is very different. And you can do so much more. Of course, you kind of need to understand what you're doing. And I've been creating some applications. I've been creating some front-end, back-end databases. I've been using AI to do all of that. I created this CRM that integrates quotations, pricing for a manufacturing facility. I created one for that too. And it's crazy how, one second. Not sure exactly where I left off, but all right. So the next, well, I guess it's just that 2026 going forward is going to be very different. But there's a lot of opportunity too. And it took me a couple of years to realize this, honestly. If you want to, and this sunlight, if you want to start your own business, even if you have AI, it's not going to be easy. There's a lot of work involved. There's a lot of networking involved, and there's a lot of building that has to come into play. So people are not going to buy from your business unless you have a lot of factors on your side. If you already have a customer base before you start the business, that's a different story. If you already have clients, maybe from whatever you were doing before, then you have a heads up. But if you're starting from nothing, all of that build up needs to happen, and that has to happen with time. Of course, depending on the cards you play, that might be faster or that might be slow. But automation can only get you so far. Having said that, automations will help you by taking care of the stuff that you have to take care of as being a part of a business. And it helps you test your hypotheses and learn at a faster pace. That's where AI can shine for somebody who's starting off, right? Because when you start off trying to start a business, even if you have experience in a given field, running a business is a different skill in itself. There are things you need to know to be able to do that. There are things you can only know with experience, or if you've studied under an apprenticeship, or maybe you did like an MBA or something like this. I don't know what an MBA teaches. I have never done one. But I learned a lot these past 2 years. And there are things that automation cannot take over for you, and those are the things you have to do. Sorry, automation's not going to help, but automations will help you by clearing up your schedule so that you can actually take care of them, right? So when I mean automation, I mean using AI agentically and not just building N8N workflows. Although those can help, those are pretty cool. Unless you're selling automations, just leave that out. You can learn it. You can do stuff with it. There are probably one or two high ROI automations, but every automation is different. You have to make something for a specific purpose. And to be honest, you could get away with just having your agent in your CLI build out a script in Python that it can customize at any time and run that on a VPS. Or if you need scale for some reason, you could host it on a service like Modal. That's Modal. Probably Modal or even Trigger.dev. Well, Trigger Dev would be a little different in with what you would use for it. Modal would be the closest bet. But if you're starting out, I don't think you'd need either one of them. Just a simple VPS would do just fine. Of course, Modal is cheaper, but Modal is only cheaper at very low scale. A free plan is pretty decent, but the threshold is a certain amount. And once you pass that threshold, you need to be making a lot of money to use Modal. So I wouldn't say a lot, but it's 250 a month to get to its paid subscription. It's from free to 250. There's nothing in between. Come on, where's the $50 subscription for us? But it's okay. If I'd say getting the Claude Max plan is, I'd say, still a lot of value. Many people would disagree, but it's just that everything that comes with that plan bundled together is very convenient. You could run a cheaper model. Yes, you could. I don't think you can self-host a competent coding model unless you have a supercomputer of some kind, or you have at least $10,000. I don't even know if that'll run it properly. But just to me, I see Claude Code as being a no-brainer. I use Claude Code, my Max plan, and I use it a lot. I use it every day, every single day. And the thing about it is, you can use their app, just the Claude app or Claude desktop. The MCPs that you connect to it and the tools and the skills that you connect to it, they are synced over cloud, so you could run them on your phone. You get browser extensions, you get extensions on applications. Just yesterday, I saw there was an extension on Excel for Claude Code. Like, come on. Browser extensions, I already mentioned that. And then, of course, the CLI version, Claude Code and Claude Tool. The Claude desktop variant of the CLI. I don't use that, but that's there. And then there's also Claude Cowork, which I think was released for Mac. I don't know if when they're gonna do it for Windows, but I'm assuming pretty soon. Cowork is basically Claude Code CLI, but just on their browser. It works with the files and it does stuff. It's this in between thing, right? Between the desktop and Claude Code. But either way, those are just having them prepare Python scripts, saving them, and then just running them, or even doing a cron job on your own computer, you're done. That's all you need to do. If you really need to run workflows on N8N, you could do that too, but you could have Claude Code build. So no, I wouldn't recommend having Claude Code build them. They probably could do a decent job, but I honestly haven't had too much of success with it. I've tried. I've given it many of the workflows that I have built, context as to how I build them, what tools I use, because I document all of that. So I put that in, have it look at that, try making a workflow, and it's like, no, this doesn't work. There's an MCP that you can connect to. There's context 7 and some other context you can give it about their workflows, how nodes get connected. It's gotten better, but they really don't do a good job with making complicated workflows because for some reason or another, they miss out on something with some nodes. And then I've even tried going back, explaining to it. Now I've revised it. Take a look at the revised version. This is what it's supposed to look like. What do you see? What's different? Why do you think it is? Can you document it, write it down? And I've connected databases to it for vector storage and mem0 for editable memory to kind of manage that. And it still doesn't do it. It doesn't do that good of a job. You're better off just, if you're experienced in building N8N workflows, you're just better off just building it yourself. The only point in which you would want to bring an AI into the building of that is writing out the prompts, writing out JavaScript or code if you need those code nodes in there, if you need to configure some curl, if you need to, of course, structure out the prompt, if you need a structured output and if you need the schema, there, yes, you, of course, use Claude, use whatever. There, yes, you have very high leverage there because you give it the information and it's going to give out the structured schema, it's going to give out the prompts. And if you come across a node where you need to manually connect every single output to a field, which sucks and takes time, you can just copy paste both nodes and give the copy of the input, give it to Claude or whatever. I'm just by de facto saying Claude, but this can be any agent. Just paste the JSON for that, given that, and then tell it to just reconfigure the nodes so that it's interconnected. And then it'll do that. It's way more competent. It's way more competent enough to be able to do that. And it'll do that just fine. There may be an error or two sometimes, but that can save you a lot of time. So that's where I would delegate agentic use with building N8N workflows. I wouldn't use it for building the entire workflow, no. And I think that's kind of where we're at with some of the other app builds and REM builds or whatever else you want to build that has full stack system. You really need to plan everything out. You have to plan everything out. You have to plan it out. use the task feature if you have to, where Claude, that's a pretty cool feature. Though I think they just released it last 2 weeks ago or a week ago, where maybe 2 weeks ago, where instead of just a simple to-do list, it actually fills out a full markdown file with tasks. It's called a task list. And get this, it understands dependencies. So it's like the Ralph Wiggum loop on steroids. So it'll literally put on there, this is task 1, 2, 3. You cannot do task 3 until task 1 is done. You can do task 4 if task 3 is not complete. So you could do task 3 and 4 in parallel. So it'll run agents in parallel to do it. You can configure Git so that it doesn't screw up your files. And you can optimize the building of anything really well with them. But it's not easy for a newcomer to be able to get into that, but it's crazy how much you can do with AI nowadays. But I'm just gonna leave it here. It's been 20 odd minutes already. I'm probably gonna cut down some parts of this video, but so that it doesn't catch me just not speaking for a while. But I'll probably do more videos on some of the AI stuff that we've been working on. And it's a learning process. Every single day there's something new. Just last week there was this disaster of a thing called Claude Bot, CLAWD. It's all the hype right now, but there's some security issues with it, I've heard. I tried using it. I need to make some adjustments to this too. But what Claudebot does and advertises is what Claude Code and CLI was already able to do for like weeks or maybe even months. But it does have a nice interface and it does configure tools and do all of that pretty nicely. I'd say it's just Claudebot, in my opinion, is just leveraging the capabilities of Claude Code and making itself look good off of what Claude Code actually just could do by itself. It's just giving it some commands, I guess. So that's probably nice, but I'd say there'll be better applications or implementations of Claude or Moltbot or whatever they're changing their name to. I don't know what the hell is wrong with these people, but I'm a fan. It's not there yet, but it's pretty close. But it's telling. What Claude Moltbot right now is telling of what AI is going to be this year. And it's all the more reason why people need to start their own businesses. I don't think AI, no, I'm sorry, I don't think the current business landscape is sustainable, but that's a topic for a completely different video. That's economics, that's finance, that's stocks, trading, markets, uncertainties, global politics, that's all that nonsense. And it's a part of AI too. Everyone's getting fired. Companies are downsizing for the same amount of output they can provide. So I guess just to sum it short, my vision of how the world is going to be is 200 years ago or 300 years ago, before the Industrial Revolution started, people lived in small communities all around the world, all over the place. But in order to create something efficient and like, if you wanted to create something, you'd have to go to an industrial hub. So everybody had to come to a center, to a city of some kind. Lots of people were needed. Lots of manpower was needed to build something. You don't need that anymore. But people thrive in communities than they do in big cities. People thrive in cities too, but it's a little soulless sometimes. It's nice, but it's very soulless at some points. But it's a very different feeling to live with a community of 20 people that you really know than to live amongst hundreds of people and try to pick and choose who you want as friends and all that kind of stuff. And there's a different sensation of loneliness when you don't know literally the person who might be right next door on the other side of the wall. You don't know any of them, but you're surrounded by so many people. It's a weird kind of loneliness, right? But that's a slight tangent. It's just my thing is AI optimization and how everybody is striving for some kind of independence. Companies don't need to have lots of people anymore at a given location at the least. So my outlook is you're going to have small companies. It doesn't even have to be digital, right? So you have, let's say, a manufacturing process, a plant that you build stuff. Maybe you're a woodworker, maybe you're a plumber, maybe you're an electrician, or maybe you're just refining stuff, building stuff, recycling stuff, whatever it is. You don't need a massive plant and you don't need hundreds of people to do that anymore. You can do it yourself, have some buddies, get a small place somewhere far out. As long as you have an internet connection, if you want an internet connection, hey, set up a tower, I guess. It doesn't have to be a tower, it's just like remote Starlink type of thing. But more than likely, there's going to be coverage wherever you are. You can set one of those up, AI handles most of the logistics. If you are competent in that field, you will know exactly how to configure that AI to do that work. And then you can focus on the other stuff that actually AI cannot do, like actually running the machines or whatever. And you can optimize that process to a way that what at one point in time would have taken 20, 30 people, you could probably just do with like 3 people. I wouldn't say a single person could run a factory. That's bullshit. But 3 people, 4 people, it's doable. It's pretty doable. At some point, you probably want to increase the employee count, but you'll be very successful. But that's my prediction going forward in terms of how businesses are going to be. They're going to be smaller, but scattered all over the place. So there's going to be so many more businesses doing so many more things, providing for the local community. So I'd say that works for everyone. You're saving on fuel. You have everything in, you're self-sufficient in some ways. You're able to provide for your community. You're in a more tight and knit community. And if you have technology built into your lifestyle, I'd say it's the most sensible future we can have. Not a utopia with a massive city where everybody's in there crammed. What are you going to do? What work are you going to do? If you have AI taking care of everything, what work are you going to do? People need to do something. They're going to go crazy otherwise. So you can go into industry, something physical, build stuff, but use AI to optimize the stuff that is like tedious and repetitive, and be the one to manage that. So that's, if you already, of course, you need to have the skill to understand what you're doing so that you can teach the AI what it needs to do, and then it can take over. But it's not going to be that easy to just go into a field if you don't know anything about it. Of course, you need the skill before you start it. That's key. But once you have it, you're fine. Tangent, and a 10-minute extra tangent. I'm done. Catch you next time.